IQ Office Services presents Voices of Startups. Learn from successful business owners and create your own path to success.
So Jed, welcome to the podcast. I know you're involved in multiple different companies and want to touch on each of those. So why don't you start off by introducing yourself and tell us a little bit about those projects.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me on the podcast.
Sure.
My name is Jed, and I'm a filmmaker, photographer, and entrepreneur. Companies I'm running right now is one of them is Yaletown Painting. It's a painting service company. I also do architectural photography, real estate photography, and those are the main businesses I have. And in the past, I've had many businesses, mostly online businesses, like Amazon businesses, private labels, and stuff like that.
So can you clarify, when you say private label, are you talking about drop shipping?
Yeah, drop shipping as well as like basically creating brands and linking online stores to factories, manufacturers.
Oh, cool. Around what time did you start doing all that?
So the Amazon stuff, the online business, I would say it started 2015, 2016. I had a year where basically I was like, I need to figure out how business works and how I can be of value. And through through Yaletown Painting, that's one of the first businesses I started, and through understanding marketing, online marketing, and overall just online businesses, I started understanding how to provide value to customers.
Okay, awesome. So in terms of education, do you have any formal education in the e-commerce field?
Yes. No, not in e-commerce. So I went to film school. I have a fine art background. So my background is actually in art, film production, and the e-commerce came after. E-commerce marketing came after when I was self-taught basically just through YouTube, through Reddit, and different books, watching videos, podcasts like Tim Ferriss, different topics, and that's kind of how I got to business. And obviously, business is so broad, but you could talk so much about business, but you can actually tie it to art as well. So it's two things that I'm definitely interested in.
So what brought out your entrepreneurial side? Were your parents self-starters, or what gave you that sense of, oh, hey, maybe I should create this own path for myself?
No, definitely. I was definitely inspired by my parents who were both entrepreneurs growing up. So actually, before moving to Canada, I came to Canada in 2001. So I was 10 years old when I came to Canada.
Where were you before that?
In Morocco.
Okay.
So growing up in Morocco. My mom was a business owner. She owned a pharmacy. My dad owned Photo Lab. I used to develop photos for people, and they were both like successful businesses. And when we came to Vancouver in 2001, that was for my dad's work because he wanted to kind of get in the North American market. He's in the film industry.
Okay.
And at that time, we thought that Vancouver was a perfect city, and moved here with my sister in 2001, and it was a little bit of a struggle for my parents because both business owners coming here, not knowing the language. My mom, as a pharmacist, wasn't able to have her credit her degree.
Right.
So she had to basically redo everything at UBC,
Mm-hmm.
and that was a little bit of a tough time for everybody. Just seeing that. Going from being comfortable in a country where you know everyone and you have family to being in a new space, in a new country.
So when your parents moved to Canada, did they start their own business here as well?
Yeah, they're currently working. My mom works in a pharmacy, and my dad is a basically freelance filmmaker and cinematographer. he's an entrepreneur for sure, and yeah, just works in different on different film sets. Yeah.
Would you say he's the reason you got into the photography and videography field?
Definitely, yeah, definitely. Growing up, I saw what he was doing, and tried to follow his footsteps. And yeah, overall, like being creative and filmmaking is something that was kind of passed on. My grandfather is a filmmaker as well, so yeah, exactly, third generation. I mean, even when I was going in high school, I was taking like film classes. I was just the guy with the camera at all times, taking pictures. Yeah, it's something I've always enjoyed, and definitely like today I could see it transferring into business, because I mean today it's a lot about creating content, being creative, and I think that, well, no, I'm pretty sure that it translates all together into business.
Yeah, definitely. The whole social media landscape is 100% visual oriented now. Now, some audio, obviously, but definitely videography and photography play a huge role.
Yeah, and the storytelling as well, which was when I went to film school, or right after high school. That was big thing for me, was understanding how to tell a story in a way to capture an audience, kind of like in marketing, but it's not so direct. In filmmaking, it's very subtle. Um, but yeah, it was definitely an interesting experience going to film school. Even though I didn't have a business background, I think it helped me a lot.
And what would you say is the most like challenging part of just starting the company or starting? I guess you were involved in so many. I'm not sure which one came first, but
Yeah,
just in overall in starting something, what would you say is the most like the largest hurdle you have to go over?
yeah, I think the largest hurdle would be, getting credibility. Just building trust, I guess. That would be the first one. Um, it's always hard to get that first customer in any business that you do.
Mhm.
But once you have that first customer, you have that trust, then you have the referral, and it builds from there. And it spreads very fast. I mean, but it's always that first customer that is always the hardest, because obviously um, you don't know how the experience should go, right? But once you get that second, third, fourth customer, you get used to it, and it becomes something that's bigger than anything, really. It becomes a purpose, providing value, and yeah, there's definitely a rewarding feel to it.
And how would you say one would go about establishing like the credibility or the trust? Like how does one get that first sale? Because there's obviously a bunch of schools of thought on this. Um, I've always kind of taken or been okay with taking the route of like, oh, hey, I'll do something for free in hopes of building that relationship. It has sometimes just completely not panned out for me, and other times it's kind of kicked off, and they saw the value in it, and they kind of used me for further services.
Yeah.
Where do you kind of stand on that?
Yeah, no, definitely. And it's something that I think about a lot. But at the same time, that's the beauty of, I guess, of art, of what we do, is to be able to enjoy what we do, and help out when needed, right? I mean, when it comes to Yaletown Painting, first, yeah, I mean, the idea of having a service-based company is just very rewarding, because you get to see the customer happy with the product at the end. You get to kind of really walk through the whole experience, from customer finding out about you, to customer uh, agreeing to a contract, to customer being happy at the end. I mean, whether the contract is for a certain amount or for free or whatever, it's still something you kind of put your heart into it, right?
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I mean, I think it's important to take on any opportunity that's given to you, because anything can happen out of that opportunity.
Currently, you're doing Yaletown painting, and was it just your personal photography?
Yep, yep. Personal
Yeah.
photography, and just providing photography services to
Mhm.
businesses, to realtors, clients, construction companies. Just yeah, any way I can I guess provide my service or my art or whatever, right?
So how exactly are you kind of coping with that whole having, Yaletown Painting on one side and having the photography on the other side, and kind of like how do you organize all that?
Yeah, it's a bit difficult, and then there is not so much a strategy to to it. It's still also fairly new, so like the way I got into business was really through trying to improve basically my life, my everything that I do is in business really. So yeah, there's not really like a strategy to how I'm able to. Yeah, it's basically trial and error. I'm still trying to figure it out. Yeah. But one thing for sure is like at least playing the game is very important. Being part of it is very important, whatever it is. A lot of people, they're stuck on this idea of perfection, that one thing, that's one um, you know I had to learn the hard way that it was kind of just like just do it, just whatever it is. Take action. That was huge. I think it was Gary V, or no, I think someone else that was like, yeah, just take action in whatever that you decide to take on. And I've been big. Yeah, take the first step. Yeah, and that was basically, yeah, I had that mentality. Anything that I did, whether it was sports in high school or any activity that I take on that was somewhat uh, competitive, I would just go 100 and basically try to be the best at it. And yeah, between business and arts, I'm trying to be the best at business by making sure that every client is happy, and arts by just creating content and whatever it is, being part of the creativity, whatever, yeah, whatever the project is.
So I mean, both of those areas are kind of very competitive, right? Like especially with Instagram, looking at pictures and things like that. Everyone with a cell phone is now a photographer and a
Yes,
videographer of
yes,
their own sorts.
definitely, definitely.
um, so there's obviously a lot of competition that way. And in terms of trades with painting and contractors, it seems like everyone's kind of joining in that way too, especially when we had that big housing boom here, or whatever,
Yes,
real
yep.
estate boom.
hmm
How exactly do you navigate the competitive landscape?
Be original, to be yourself, kind of thing, to be different. It's true, there is competition, but I think the more you worry about competition, the less you
Okay.
kind of work on
hmm
yourself to improve and to get better, right? Yeah, I feel like worrying, like I just kind of, I know that it's a competitive market, but at the same time, I just kind of do me,
Right.
and there is like a signature to it. There is like a, whether it's my pictures or whether it's my project, my painting projects, whatever you could, I like to leave it like at the end, this is a project that was painted by Yaletown Painting, or that's a photo taken by Der Visuals, or yeah, I'd like to leave a print in anything that I do, and that's kind of like the idea of the legacy that you leave behind, kind of thing.
So, what would you say are some of the milestones that you've managed to hit in your career so far?
Yeah, I mean, I've had many milestones uh, throughout my career, and a milestone doesn't I don't see it necessarily as a good thing, because it could be a bad thing as well, like that I've learned from, that today I'm doing differently because that one moment kind of gave me this idea, like awareness of just, okay, I need to change the way I'm doing things. So I've had many, and I mean that's the beauty of it, is that's where I'm at right now, is to be able to look at these things, right? In competition, whether it was, for example, in high school, going to provincial semifinals for
hmm
basketball, or whether it was winning uh, like a film festival award. When I was in high school in grade 12, it was like a Vancouver School Board Film Festival award. So yeah, just like, little things like that. I guess in business, in 2016, it was January 2016. I had like a 5-figure sales month
Nice.
online, and that was pretty cool.
Do you remember your first ever sale?
Yes, I do. That was pretty crazy. Yeah, it was
What was
super
it?
interesting. I was selling these Moscow Mule mugs, copper mugs, and it was something that I was sourcing from China. And I basically sent them to an Amazon warehouse in the US, and I created a whole listing for it. And I only sent like maybe, I think, 200 units because at the time I knew it was a hot product. I did my research. I went on um, Google word, like keyword ranking and stuff like that, to see what kind of hot product it was. Um, and it was actually a seasonal product. So it was a product that around November picks up because of Christmas. So I launched it. I sent the units to Amazon in September, and basically created the listing. The process took about a month, but once the listing was up, the units were at the warehouse, and yeah, I saw my first sale, and it went to Massachusetts. And that was pretty weird because I remember I was like, hey, like where is this going? And you could see the address of where that unit is going.
Right.
And that was pretty crazy and eye-opening for me to see that that's basically what do you call it? Connecting those dots, you know? It
Right.
was pretty cool. Because at first I was the type of guy who was like, oh, like, selling stuff online, like, man, nobody buys. And like I heard about eBay before, and it's just like something about it, I was just not a non-believer. And then yeah, that's when I decided it was at a point where I was like, okay, I'm gonna take a risk. I was always a risk taker, and that was rewarding, yeah, for sure. And a few months later, I had my first 5-figure sales month, and that was pretty crazy. And I had the ideas of potentially taking it to 6 figures, and I'm still working on that. But
So it's still kind of a project in the go?
yeah, definitely. I mean, all of these ideas are just kind of like, you know, that idea was just came because I saw that Moscow Mule was a hot keyword. But if I do
Mm.
some research, and I found this was actually a couple months before the fidget spinners phase. So
Yeah.
so that was like crazy. And then fidget spinners took off, and people were buying and selling fidget spinners. Like I saw that at the beginning.
Did you jump on that?
No, I didn't. I think it was maybe like it was right off the bat like crazy. A lot of people were selling that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but a couple other products I saw that were hot were appliances in the appliance category, home and kitchen. Pet supplies were really good as well. Those are a couple niches where I was like, this is all good brands to start, like good like niches for brands. And that's kind of when my idea was like, oh, you can brand stuff, and you can create content, and through creating content, you're kind of adding value to the brand, and you're actually helping out customers. So this whole idea is just kind of translate into Yaletown Painting, any business really. That was actually my whole thinking was like, if you can start an online business, then the process should be the same for anything that you start, because it's all about getting
Right.
that first client. Um, so yeah, that was
I mean,
huge. Yeah,
if anything, I feel like drop shipping is probably even simpler than that because you can do everything from home, which obviously is good for the times we're in right now.
for sure,
But yeah, I mean, you can kind of just curve everything that way.
for sure, for sure. And the nice thing about Amazon platform is that it really allows you to test things and understand human behavior in a way. Like, why would someone click add to cart on this listing but not the other one? Meanwhile, the product is from the same factory. So it's just this idea of like, one brand managed to basically win the customer over another brand, and I wanted to know why. So, I put in a lot of time understanding kind of why people buy what they buy, and like what triggers them to buy it.
Yeah,
Um,
the whole psyche behind that.
yeah, exactly. Whether it's giving them an ebook, a free ebook or giving them a discount for future purchase, or
Hmm.
yeah, all of that.
Yeah, I tend to get caught in the free ebook section myself.
Yeah, yeah. So I had to make a free ebook.
Yeah.
That was pretty interesting, and that understanding also like the whole ebook thing, and um, training videos, and like how
Mhm.
basically you can create one piece of content and then distribute it at a cost or whatever. Um, all of that was super interesting, and the idea of at the time, which was like the idea of making money seemed very hard, just like all of a
Mhm.
sudden kind of became a thing where it's like, well, everything is possible. It just opened up a whole, lane of opportunities and options, and it's just like, okay, it just requires a grind. It's a grind. So that was pretty cool to kind of to that was actually a milestone moment, I guess.
For sure. So generally speaking, then, what's kind of next for you?
But yeah, what's next for me is to just be as productive, be even more productive, and in terms of Yaletown Painting, I see it as a team business, so that's more like down the road I would like to hire crews and have a team of like 20 guys and girls, and have a good crew, good
Hmm.
painting crew in Vancouver. In terms of the visual side, that would be just creating, um, getting as many creative projects that I can kind of, add my little thing, and uh, and putting content out, whether it's YouTube or Instagram, uh, any platform really, just putting out as much content as possible. I think that's the next thing for me.
Okay, awesome. So the next part, I'm going to ask you a hypothetical.
Mhm.
So if you were to get a $50,000 injection into your company right now, what would you spend it on and why?
I mean, the whole thing for me about, well, how I got into business is because I was at a point where like I had nothing, and I was like, okay, like it's I really want to you know provide value without having to worry about um basically profit or anything like that.
Mhm.
Um so yeah, I mean, if I was to receive money, it would be to create more. So create more in terms of like content, in terms of like, a podcast. I would do more videos. I would invest it into creating things.
Okay.
I think that would be, I think that would be the best thing for any business. It's just now a question of how can I create uh, for as cheap as possible, but as well as like good stuff, like
Mhm.
creating like a good information out there, So yeah, I think it would be spent on creating content.
Sweet. And obviously, right now we have the whole coronavirus thing going on. Um, how is that affecting your business and I guess your industry as a whole on both ends?
Yeah, it's definitely affecting the business, in terms of just people are panicking. People are not really thinking about home renovations right now, especially when someone is supposed to be self-isolating, right?
Hmm.
Um, yeah, in terms of art or the visual business, I don't think it's affected much, because at the end of the day, it's about how I treat it.
Hmm.
As long as I'm creating, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter kind of what's going on. It's just more like creating content that people would be interested in. I guess right now it would be a lot of content would be coronavirus related
Yeah, of course.
if I wanted to get a lot of attention. But
Hmm.
you know, uh, yeah, I've seen people like completely switch their YouTube content to just that, because that's what's getting traffic right now. So um, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's just creating content for whatever I want to do, and it doesn't really matter what. Um, I mean, it matters who's watching, and I definitely I want eyes on it, but at the same time, it's just as long as I'm creating, I'm happy.
Where are you posting right now? Is it mainly Instagram, or do you have other
Yep.
networks going?
Yep. Mainly Instagram right now, and Facebook as well. Yeah, I would say Instagram would be my number one platform.
Still no TikTok?
Not TikTok yet, but I will definitely jump on that. I mean, it's
Bust
a
out some
fun
dance moves.
platform. Yeah, it's a fun platform. I'm seeing how everybody's putting up these memes now during this time, and yeah, a lot of funny videos for sure.
I mean, that basically wraps up everything that I have down here. Uh, before you go, would you be able to leave us with a quote, or it can be original or just a quote that you really like that's kind of impacted you or the way you think?
Sure. I think one quote that I have in mind was "Do what you love, and you'll never work a day in your life." Huge one for me. Just yeah, doing what you love.
All right. Well, thank you again for joining in. And before you go, do you want to shout out your Instagram and Facebook handle?
For sure. You can follow me on Instagram at dervisuals, DER Visuals, and on Facebook at dervisuals as well. And I have a website, dervisuals.com.
Okay, awesome. Thanks again.